This morning I got to New Hampshire, to Portsmouth, New Hampshire, to have breakfast with Senator Scott Brown, also former Ambassador Scott Brown. He joins me now from his home state of New Hampshire. Senator, good to see you this morning. At the very top, I want to say scottbrown.com, scottbrown.com, two T's in Scott Brown, because as we were discussing this morning, the map in 2026 is really very small. Republicans can pick up Democrat seats in New Hampshire, in Michigan, maybe Georgia. They have to defend two, North Carolina and Maine. It all may come down to New Hampshire. You're going to be the nominee, so people can start contributing now. How's it feel this early on?
Well, it feels great. As we discussed this morning, a tremendous amount of energy. It feels respectfully like 2010 when I won after Senator Kennedy passed away. The energy's there. We're getting not only local, but national support. I mean, you just think about it. If people donated $50, all your listeners, I mean, that would give us enough to basically pay for everything and jumpstart things amazingly well. But, I'm not kind of like the Red Sox and the Yankees or the Patriots and the Falcons. It's not over till it's over. And I'm going to cross every T and dot every I.
Before I go into some issues unique to the Granite State, can I ask you about Epstein? I know I hate to ask people about Epstein. It's going to be the last day I talk about Epstein, but it's all they talked about online this weekend, other than Hunter Biden, a little bit. I think it's over, it's done, and I'm done with it. What do you think about it?
Well, I haven't paid too much attention to it. Respectfully, I'm out campaigning every day talking about real issues. And let's make no mistake, it's a 6 month anniversary right now, or 6 months into the presidency of President Trump, the second term. And he's on a hot streak. I mean, you look at what he did with Iran, you look what's happening, obviously, in gas prices, food prices. There's a whole host of things that he's doing, securing the border down to zero. And unless we all know that Epstein's a bad dude and he's better off, we're better off with him not on this planet. That being said, it's the folks that, called Russia, 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 that hoax. These people want to divide and conquer us. They want us to have infighting, but those people should not win. We should not give them any time of day, because this thing is over as far as I'm concerned, and I don't want those people dividing our party, because there's so much more to focus on. I mean, look at the things that we have that we can still accomplish. We get all the criminal illegals out of here. We can continue to fight to make sure that men and boys don't hurt the girls and women when it comes to their sports. We can find a way to pay down our debt and our deficit. Those things are very, very important to me, and I want to make sure that I'm there to help.
I learned this morning, and I did not know this until today. We can call you Senator Brown. We can call you Ambassador Brown because you represented America for Donald Trump in New Zealand and American Samoa. But we can also call you Coach Brown. I want you to trot out your coaching chops a little bit, because there are a lot of coaches who listen to this show, and I didn't know that until this morning.
Well, I love basketball. It basically saved my life. A lot of violence. Mom and dad married and divorced 4 times each. Mom was on welfare for safety net. An abuse survivor. If it wasn't for a good coach and a good teacher, I'd probably be in jail or dead. And so I'm blessed, and I've been able to teach not only my daughters. My daughter Ayla committed at 15 to Boston College, had an amazing career. And I got to play at Tufts, captain, always nationally ranked teams. But I want to pass it on. And so I'm coaching at a local high school, a girls varsity. And last year we made it to the playoffs and won a game. And I'm very excited about continuing that, because there's a lot of amazing young women out there, athletes, who are trying to make their mark. And the fact that we have Chris Pappas pushing to make sure that men and boys dramatically affect and crush their dreams is one of the reasons I'm running, and it's completely unacceptable, and I won't have it.
Yeah, I got to tell people, we had an off-the-record conversation this morning, so I'm not going to disclose anything I shouldn't. But I was pretty amused to learn that you were trying to sell me on the WNBA is watchable. I want people to know that you actually, because I'm not a WNBA fan, and you said, oh, Hugh, you got to watch the game. So a big WNBA fan as well as a sports fan. Unfortunately, he's a Celtics and Red Sox fan. We're going to have to forgive him for that. Senator, can we talk about Chris Pappas? After I left, I looked him up. He's not only a liberal, he's a leftist. He's also doesn't have much achievement other than going to Congress and doing nothing except voting against the one big beautiful bill. I hope you debate him a lot, but I don't know if he's going to agree to that. What do you think?
Well, I'll debate him on your show tomorrow. I've already made that pledge in local stations and radio stations. No, he doesn't want to debate me because he's wrong on virtually every issue. If you look at the big, beautiful bill, one of the big things here, and you referenced it the last time we spoke, is Portsmouth Naval Shipyard. There's a tremendous amount of money in that bill for naval shipyards to basically build our fleets and our submarines, and we need that money. He voted against that. He voted against the no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, giving seniors a break. You know, he owns a restaurant. And imagine telling his employees he didn't support them and telling all those people that have in the Bluebird special, oh, by the way, I don't care that you can make more money and keep it in your pocket through Social Security. So there's so many things aside from the largest tax increase, what, $4 trillion in our country's history. These are the things that he's against. And he wants to cherry pick and hide behind, SNAP and Medicaid. Respectfully, my mom was got those food benefits. I remember those blocks of cheese and powdered milk, and I want them to have it, but I want them to be able to work for it. You're for an able-bodied. Then same with Medicaid. No different than Bill Clinton did with the Medicaid, and he reduced the rolls by 60% and got people back to work.
So, Senator, we did not discuss this morning, so I can bring it up with you. If we lose the Senate, Donald Trump will not get one judicial nominee. I believe this to be true. He will not get one judicial nominee through the Senate because they're going to do payback for the Scalia to Amy Coney Barrett seat, and Mitch McConnell saying no hearings, no votes. I absolutely believe we've got to hold the Senate. Are you bringing that urgency? Do your people in New Hampshire know how important their state's race is?
Well, they're getting to learn more and more, especially with North Carolina and Georgia potentially being up for grabs now. Those aren't definite. While they're being, they're in play, I believe this is a seat that is a shorter money seat in terms of, the dollars that potentially could go in here. But more importantly, you can actually go around to the state and meet everybody 2 or 3 times. It's really very, very important.
So, Senator, let's go then to the question of the one big beautiful bill. You would have voted for it. Chris Pappas voted against it. Did he use the Medicaid argument, which is bogus, but he might have used it? Is that his argument?
Oh yeah, they attacked me day one on that. Absolutely. And the SNAP benefits, we're going to reduce that. Listen, the food that the Department of Agriculture provides for our kids and those programs, it's full of sugar. We can do better. They can look at this program. It's been around forever and it's administered through the state. I will absolutely work with Governor Ayotte to make sure that we get the food that our citizens need. But there's got to be a way to do it more efficiently and better. You can't just keep saying no, 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 because listen, if we do that with Medicaid, if we do that with Social Security, if we do that with all the programs that people who need them deserve, it's not going to be there. So you want
President Trump sent you. President Trump sent you to New Zealand and American Samoa. So I want to talk to you about China because I learned something. I learned there's a new country. A country I did not know about today. Would you tell people about that and what the Chinese Communist Party is up to?
Well, it's not. It's the independent state of Samoa, not American Samoa. 2 different countries, 2 different governments. American Samoa is part of America, and actually, it's a small country called Niue. It's Niue. Cook Islands has 90,000. Niue has 19,000 people who live there. By the police chief by day is the cab driver by night. That's how they make it work. But the one thing that they have that China absolutely wants is a UN vote. Not only to gain obviously access in the UN, but all those subcommittees within the UN and all those committees around the world, they want those so they can basically undermine us. And so when we go into these areas, you see them with the One Belt, One Road program, they giving everything away. And if they can't repay them, oh, we thought it was a loan. No, it's not. We want the money. Well, we'll take that port that we built in World War II. We'll take that airstrip that we built in World War II. And my job was to push back against them every single day. And Chris Pappas has no idea how to do that. None, zero, zilch.
Did the Kiwis get the Chinese threat? Are they aware as the Australians and the Japanese and the Philippines and Taiwan are?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, they have Winston Peters and the present government under Prime Minister Luxon. They get it. They were left of center with Ardern. Now they're right of center. And yeah, they pushed back pretty hard in their white papers and a whole host of other things. China doesn't like it because there's a major trade, obviously, from New Zealand with their kiwis and other things. but they're standing firm. That's why they're a good Five Eyes partner. They get into countries that we don't and have access and find out things respectfully that we can't. So yeah, it was an honor to serve President Trump in that capacity. It's something I'll never ever forget. And we did a damn good job doing trade deals, dealing with the Christchurch massacre, and a whole host of other things. It was a great experience.
I will keep having Senator Brown on once a month until about a month or 3 months before the election. Then he'll be on weekly. But I would like you to give to him right now, scottbrown.com. He will be the Republican nominee. We need him in the United States Senate, or we will never confirm another judge if it flips. Don't let it flip. The insurance policy is in New Hampshire. Let's win it early on the night of 2026. Send some support to Scott Brown at scottbrown.com. Scott Brown with two T's .com. Always fun to start with former Senator Scott Brown. He knows of which he speaks. One of the things of which we spoke was Chris Pappas. I wouldn't recognize him if he was on the bus with me. Maybe Olivia Beavers would. Olivia Beavers with the Wall Street Journal joins us. Olivia, have you ever met Chris Pappas?
I have, I have spent most of my time focusing on House Republicans, but me and a few of the Hill reporters like to play jokes about how well we can tell who lawmakers are by the back of their heads. So that might be a special talent of ours
Uh,
after a few
do
years
you
up there.
think?
But I do know who Pappas is.
Okay, so where is he on the AOC spectrum? I think he's part of the squad. He voted against the one big beautiful bill, blah 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 blah. But I think he's on the squad side of the spectrum. What do you think?
I think he's probably a little bit more center than that. I haven't really seen him engaging in squad-like activities. But that doesn't mean that he's not going to be, pushed by Republicans as being, too far to the left, and he's going to attack the Republicans as too far to the right, which is usually what you see heading into elections, is both sides kind of painting the politics as extremist politics.
Did he endorse? I don't know the answer to this, and I wouldn't be surprised if he didn't know it either. Did he endorse Comrade Mamdani's vote for, run for mayor last week when they had all the lefties out there supporting Mamdani?
I don't know off the top of my head. The name isn't popping up so much as AOC and some of the other sort of progressives in New York that I remember, but I would have to double check that one.
Now, Olivia, I think
Mhm.
Mamdani is going to be the story of the summer and the fall. It's like there's a long stretch here where nothing's going to happen. That's not international, except the second reconciliation, which will take some time to get going. There isn't going to be any legislation. The appropriations process is boring and dull. So, are you setting out to ask everybody about Mamdani and whether or not they want him to win? Because I find it fascinating what the Democrats. It's a complete and utter nightmare. It is to them what I don't know what the worst thing that Republicans have had happen to them. And so, we've nominated some knuckleheads in the past for things, but Mamdani's a communist. I mean, he's actually abolished private property guy.
I think you're watching it unfold right now. He just had a meeting with Hakeem Jeffries where they said the meeting went well, but Jeffries hasn't endorsed, and that was their first meeting officially on the books. And the line when we're asking Jeffries what the plan is oh, there's I think plans for other meetings because there is some concern. There's both this element of trying to pull from him the lessons that they can learn from how he campaigned. But New York, I wouldn't say is like the way that Democrats don't view New York as translating to the rest of their districts necessarily, especially New York City area. But there is also concern. And like you just said, Republicans are creating him, using him as a foil to argue that Democrats are moving too left in their politics. And so I think Majority Leader Thune was talking about it on Fox News Sunday. I've heard Speaker Johnson and other members of Republican leadership bringing it up. So you're right. I think Mamdani is a name you're just going to hear more and more, especially as this mayoral race gets closer to a head.
Yeah. Now, I don't expect reporters to use my language. I don't expect you to walk up to Chris Pappas and say, Congressman Pappas, are you supporting Comrade Mamdani? But I do expect every congressional reporter to find every member of the House and ask them, and every member of the Senate, a Democrat, and ask them, are you supporting Mr. Mamdani in his race for mayor. Are you going to be doing that? Because I really am interested in who's going to go with him and who's going to distance themselves.
I personally won't just because I'm a little bit more House focused right now. So I would be the one getting the quotes from Republicans to go into the story. But I do think that that's going to be a question that Democrats are going to be asked on the campaign trail, and that will be building up as sort of a natural way that both candidates are trying to position themselves and forming into a broader story like you're talking about.
But if you're looking for people to read the paper, and a congressman is walking by you, and they might be anybody from California, someone from Illinois, or Chris Pappas, it doesn't matter who it is. If you ask them about Mamdani and they're a Democrat, you have a story, you have copy, and people will read that. Why wouldn't you ask that question of Democrats? Republicans are all going to say he's a communist and terrible, and it's not going to be surprising, but why wouldn't you ask Democrats that?
Oh, I'm not saying it's not a question to ask. I'm just saying I have what we call a beat, and so that's I got stories that I'm working on. It doesn't mean that I can't get into that lane, but usually I sort of like to leave that to my colleague who focuses a little bit more on the House Democratic side. And I think that there are stories in the works on that, but it's a fair question, especially when, we definitely have done it from my perspective on the Republican side. If, like you said, if
Oh,
there is a Republican who is controversial, we are asking them, do you stand with them? Do you condemn them? So we have done those stories on our side, and so it's completely fair to do it, to see where Democrats are taking the pulse on someone who might be controversial to the party.
all I remember is every time Republicans have nominated a loser, like the "Don't call me, I'm not a witch" lady from Delaware. Every Republican has to answer the question, "What do you think about the not a witch lady?" And nobody wants to answer that, but it does. It's kind of a way to figure it out. Now, let me go to what I said at the beginning. Not much is going to happen for a few months at least. We're almost into August. What, if anything, is going to happen? I mean, we're going to have some confirmation votes. Mike Waltz at his hearing, he'll get confirmed. They're ambassadors and judges. But what's going to happen other than that?
I think there's a chance we're watching to see if it happens, but President Trump has been pushing Senate Majority Leader John Thune and Republicans to maybe cancel at least part of maybe August recess to push forward to nominations because Democrats have been slow rolling the process for them to get to nominations. Maybe we'll see something there. When lawmakers go back to their districts, you're going to be seeing them campaigning and trying to get out the message of the one big bill, beautiful bill. And what I've heard from Republicans that they think is an uphill battle is twofold. One is combating what they say are misleading messaging from Democrats saying that they're touching Social Security and they're touching Medicare. They have to go combat that out there in the districts, but they also have to be highlighting what they say are the wins in the bill, the tax portions of it, other elements of it, the border security. So they said, like, we need to make sure they know what is both a win and what we think is unfair messaging from Democrats. So you're going to probably be seeing a lot of people hitting the trail trying to change what right now is not the best polling so far about the
Uh-oh.
bill.
I'm not worried about that at all. The success or failure of the bill depends on where the economy is in Q1 2026. Olivia Beavers, follow her on X at Olivia_Beavers. Thank you as always. If you find anyone on the record about Mr. Mondani, please let me know the next time you're back because he is the story between now and November. Olivia, thank you. I hope you had a great weekend. I did because of Relief Factor. I'm in the Relief Factor studio, and all you have to do is listen to me take it every single day, or you can watch me take it on Relief Factor. Because I do that because Relief Factor works. I had a great weekend this weekend. It involved two boats. Boats and Hugh do not go well together, and I'm not particularly good at going back and forth between the gangways, but uninjured, unhurt, and fine despite some unusual activity. And that's what Relief Factor is for. Whatever your weekend workout was, if it was different from normal and you're feeling some aches and pains, or if your commute today is bad coming in and you dread it going home, try Relief Factor. You can get a 3-week supply, a starter pack for $19.95. All you have to do is go to relieffactor.com and find the starter pack. It's $19.95 at relieffactor.com, or call 1-800, the number 4 and the word relief. They will send you this bag if you're watching on the Salem News Channel, and you will get the bag and you'll say to yourself, okay, I've finally gotten talked into it. I'm going to go with it, and you'll thank me for it. You will thank me a great deal for it. Relieffactor.com, 1-800, the number 4 and the word relief. Now, the next thing I want to tell you about is the market report. And it's a weird day in the gold market, and I want to stress the market report is brought every day to you by AmericanFederal.com, AmericanFederal.com. That's my friend Nick Rovich and his team, which you can call at 800-221-7694 or visit at AmericanFederal.com. 1-800-221-7694. That's 1-800-221-7694. American Federal, best in the business, best in show, best in transparency, best in honesty, best in speed. Talk to Nick and his team, and you'll be very well set up. I brought up gold in the first hour today because it went up $53.20 today to $3,411. All right? I don't know why gold makes jumps like this, because the Dow is kicking along into the close. It's up a little bit in the green, about 1/5%. The S&P is up 1/3%. The NASDAQ is up 0.5%. And then gold shoots up well over 1%, $53 an ounce, $3,411.50. Now, I do not know why that happened. I can't even begin to tell you why that happened. Something's going on in the marketplace, something I do not understand, something that you probably do not understand. And all I can tell you is that if you're going to own gold for the long haul, we are in for bumpy times because of our trade showdown with China. And our trade showdown with China simply means that markets are a little bit skittish, and they realize Donald Trump is serious about resurrecting the trade balance in the world, making sure that markets are open to our cars. In Japan, for example, Japan has got to accept American cars. They had elections yesterday, by the way. The Liberal Democrats lost control of the upper house, meaning they've lost control of both houses. They ran against Trump, and they lost, because my theory is that Japanese voters are not dummies, and they know that they've got to open their markets to rice and cars, or America's not going to go along with them. And the Liberal Democratic Party in Japan wanted to pretend like they were going to absolutely be the only person to stand up to Donald Trump. Donald Trump's going to roll them on this. They got to open up their market to American automobiles and to American rice, or there isn't going to be a deal. And the people said there wasn't going to be a deal. They lost the election on Sunday. So that might be why gold went up. They realized that countries have simply got to open up their markets, or Trump is serious. But I don't know. I do know if you're going to buy gold, you ought to do it from Nick Rovich and his team at American Federal. 1-800-221-7694. It's 1-800-221-7694. Now I want to tell you about Texas. Here's Governor Abbott talking about the disaster in Texas.
The numbers that I have of those who have lost their lives statewide in this flooding episode in the month of July is now 135. Those who have lost their lives in the Kerrville area because of the floods is now 116. We will continue the search for everybody in every single region that was affected by these devastating floods.
The floods, however, did more than kill. They destroyed. They destroyed homes and businesses and livelihoods. Please help Food for the Poor, which is sponsoring a campaign. Help Texas banners at hughhewitt.com, or you can call right now, 855-359-4673, 855-359-4673, 855-359-4673. Or text my name, Hewitt, to 51555 and help the people of Texas out. Food for the Poor is there. They're on the ground. They're getting help to the people who need it. Thank you in advance. Dr. Michael Oren was formerly Israel's ambassador to the United States. He's a Princeton-trained historian, and he taught at Princeton. He's also a good friend of the program, and he's everywhere. Now, Dr. Oren, welcome. I read your Substack on the Druze. I listened to the Boundless podcast with Aviva Klampus this morning to get ready for this. And, you know, I decided this is one of those times where I just ought to say, Dr. Oren, you're back in the classroom. Would you please educate this audience on the Jews and the Druze and why it's different than everything else?
Okay, always my pleasure to be with you, and a special honor to talk about our relationship with the Druze. The Jewish people of Israel, the state of Israel, has what we call the Druze are an Arabic-speaking, non-Arab, non-Muslim minority in the Middle East. They live in Israel, they live in Jordan, they live in Lebanon and in Syria. In Israel, since 1956, the Druze have volunteered to be conscripted into the IDF, and they have served disproportionately in our security services. They have paid disproportionately for the security of this country, particularly in this last war. I've served with a number of Druze officers. They're extraordinary individuals, but they're in every field of Israeli society, not just in the military. They're in academia. They're on television. They're in the media. They're certainly in academia everywhere, the Druze. And so we have a very close relationship. Having said that, there's still issues of which we have yet to address, of inequality between Druze villages and Jewish villages. We have to address that in the future, but we have this commitment. And, you know, just because the British and the French came along about 100 years ago and drew borders across the Middle East doesn't mean that Druze living in Israel do not have close family members living in Syria. They do. And just as Israel would send its soldiers out to defend Jewish communities that are in danger abroad, so too we must defend the relatives, the blood kin of our members of our blood covenant with the Druze people. So this Israel is doing it with honor in the face of some international criticism, even criticism from members of the Trump administration. But this is something that is incumbent upon the society. It's absolutely incumbent. In Israel, I want you to know.
I think we lost your broadband there, Dr. Oren, so I'm going to let it yeah, we're going to try and fix it, because I don't think people... Okay, you're back again. So, Dr. Oren, did you get involved in defending the Druze in Lebanon? Are they too far distant in Lebanon for Israel to defend them when Hezbollah went after them?
It's a complicated relationship, I must tell you. I fought in Lebanon for many years, and in Lebanon, I fought against the Druze. The Druze were allied with Hezbollah for a long time. Now I don't know where they stand. The Druze in Syria are different in that way, in that they are very appreciative of Israel's help. The Druze in Lebanon, under the leadership of a gentleman named Jun Balat, has not been particularly friendly to Israel, but we hope there'll be a change. We hope this will be the beginning of a new relationship between Israel and the Druze of Lebanon, as well as the Druze of Syria.
Now, the thing I heard you tell Aviva this morning as I was driving down to see Scott Brown, who's running for Senate here, I heard you say, look, the Levant, Syria is a made-up country. It was imposed on the Levant, and I thought to myself, and then you distinguish the Gulf. What is the difference between the Levant and the Gulf? What am I missing? I'm a smart guy, I just don't know it. Oh dear, it's happened again. Israel must be, the hamster wheel is not working in your basement office today, Dr. Oren, and you're not even under fire. So I don't know what's going on there. But okay, you're back. Now you're going to tell me the difference between the Levant. Go ahead.
And the Gulf. Okay, Levant, you should know, is a French word. It means rising up. It's where the sun rises in the east. Levant is full of the Mediterranean Ocean. Levant would include what is today Israel and Lebanon and parts of Syria along that eastern shore of the western shore of the eastern Mediterranean. So
for whatever reason, Michael, it will not work today. We're going to have to start. We're going to try a third time's the charm. We got about every third word on what the Levant is. And I want my audience to be the smartest in the country. So we're going to make another swing and miss at this and see if you can get your broadband to work. Maybe everyone near Tel Aviv is using their internet right now, but Try again. What is the Levant? Nope, not working today. Golly doggone it, but we got some of it. We got the blood covenant with the Druze, and we put it there until next week, where we'll pick up on Hugh's ignorance about the difference between the Levant and the Gulf. And I suppose I could look it up, or AI could tell me, but I would have rather have heard it from Dr. Oren. Dr. Michael Oren. Follow him on X at Dr. Michael Oren. Follow me, if you will, to stophealthcosthikes.com. Stophealthcosthikes.com. Why do I bring this up? Everyone got shoved around when Obamacare passed. A lot of people got shoved out of their coverage. Those people got shoved into the Obamacare state exchanges. If that's you, you know you also, many of you, got tax credit. You got relief from what were the extraordinary costs and remain the extraordinary costs of Obamacare, because the exchanges don't work very well, and the opportunities aren't there. They're difficult to understand, and they're very expensive. So Congress came along at the same time they passed Obamacare, and they gave tax credits to people who got forced into it. Tax credits. Those are wonderful things. Now, my friends and my sponsors over at Americans for a Balanced Budget want to preserve those tax credits, and they're pushing all of their chips onto a second reconciliation. And when that second reconciliation comes along, they want to know that you're with them in continuing the tax credits. To do that, you need to visit stophealthcosthikes.com. All right, stophealthcosthikes.com. It is not a felicitous term, right? It's not going to roll off your tongue, but you can remember it. Stophealthcosthikes.com. And what it is about, in the next tax bill, which will be the second reconciliation, the one big beautiful bill is passed, and thank God it has, they got to go and preserve the tax credits for people who got shoved into the exchanges of Obamacare, which are awful. I've never had to use them, thank goodness, but if you are using them, you know what I'm talking about, and we need to give you and continue the relief you have under the old tax code. Yesterday marked 6 months of Donald Trump's term, his second term. Carolyn Levitt told Fox News' Martha McCollum this, cut number 7.
They've learned nothing from President Trump's overwhelming victory on November 5th. The American people want deportations. They want secure borders. That's why we've had the most successful 6 months of any administration. The president has delivered on his two core campaign promises: defeat inflation and secure the homeland in record time.
Carolyn Levitt is very good. She knew she had a brief time, so she condensed it. I didn't have to condense it on X. I posted this, my list of accomplishments in their order of importance. The Iran nuclear program was destroyed, the threat of proliferation to a theocracy averted. Israel restored to the status of the equal of any of our allies. NATO countries commit to 5% of their GDP to defense. The border is closed. Carolyn Levitt mentioned that. Tax cuts were extended and expanded, and the key rates were made permanent. The defense rebuild is underway. You heard Senator Scott Brown earlier on the program today talk about Portsmouth in New Hampshire. That's a place where we do submarines. It's going to get a lot of money in there. That is great. Regulatory rollback across all of the agencies, more than a dozen Congressional Review Act repeals of Joe Biden regulations in the areas of environmental overreach, energy, obstruction, financial regulations that made no sense. Inflation is calmed. DEI and CRT are on the run, if not exiled. Title IX is being protected. Elite higher education has been served notice. It just must comply with the Constitution and the civil rights laws. The U.S. Steel deal and the AI and energy investment in Pennsylvania, which is a model for every state seeking new investment, billions and billions, hundreds of billions of dollars of commitments and investment in the United States, assistance provided by President Trump and Marco Rubio in de-escalating the India-Pakistan cross-border combat, assistance in the Democratic Republic of the Congo's agreement with the M23 Rwanda forces, and close to 50 Americans held in captivity have been returned to the United States. None of that includes the trade deal because they're still up in the air. That's the first 6 months. Here's how Martha Raddatz described it on This Week yesterday, cut number 5.
Today marks 6 months since President Trump returned to office for his second term. It has been a head-spinning half year, from sweeping changes in the federal government to mass deportations and bombs dropped on Iran. The president promised changes, and there is no question he has made them. President Trump won the 2024 election based largely on his vow to improve the economy and crack down on illegal immigration. He has declared success on both. But there are some potential storm clouds on the horizon.
All right, did you get that? In 20 seconds, she didn't cover it. And then she began to say, but. By the way, NBC News was preempted for the British Open. Congratulations, Scotty. And there was nothing at all on Margaret Brennan's show on Face the Nation. Not surprising, but that's why you listen to the Hugh Hewitt Show and watch the Salem News Channel. Thank you for listening, and hello, Olivia from Tampa, who I saw this weekend. Thank you for listening today. I always love it when someone in the audience comes up to me in public and says, hey, hello, I love your show. I don't even mind it when people come up to me and say, hey, I watch Salem News Channel, and I don't like you, but you do a good job presenting. I appreciate you as well. What I don't like are people who hate Dwayne. It's just too easy, and we shouldn't do that. Now, I want to bring up Hunter Biden. If there are children in the car, you may not want this to be heard by them. I have said for a long time, Hunter Biden is an addict and an alcoholic, and I'm not sure he's in recovery. I hope he is. But he gave yet another 2 interviews today, one of whom with a podcaster, Andrew Callahan, very big on YouTube, and so it will spread, it will follow, it will find an audience. And I hope you, by the way, when you get around to it, head over to Hugh Hewitt on YouTube and like and subscribe. But Andrew Callahan asks him about the people who pushed his father aside. This is cut number 3. There are a lot of bleeps because I'm an FCC regulated program, and we can't use certain words that YouTube podcasts can use. And so here's Hunter Biden on the Andrew Callahan podcast, cut number 3.
Opinions, but Kim and everybody around him. I don't have to be nice. Number one, I agree with Quentin Tarantino. George Clooney is not an actor. He is I don't know what he is. He's a brand. And by the way, and God bless him. You know what? He supposedly treats his friends really well. You know what I mean? Buys them things. And he's got a really great place in Lake Como. And he's great friends with Barack Obama. You, what do you have to do with anything? Why do I have to listen to you? What right do you have to step on a man who's given 52 years of his life to the service of this country and decide that you, George Clooney, are going to take out basically a full-page ad in the New York Times on me and James Carville, who hasn't run a race in 40 years, and David Axelrod, who had one success in his political life, and that was Barack Obama. And that was because of Barack Obama, not because of David Axelrod. And David Plouffe, and all of these guys, and the Pod Save America guys, who were junior speechwriters on Barack Obama's Senate staff, who've been dining out on the relationship with him for years, making millions of dollars. The Anita Dunns of the world, who's made $40, $50 million off the Democratic Party. They're all going to insert their judgment over a man who has figured out, unlike anybody else, how to get elected to the United States Senate over 7 times, how to pass more legislation than any president in history, how to have a better midterm election than anybody in history, and how to garner more votes than any president that has ever run. And they're going to replace their judgment for his.
Not to mention,
Who's Jake Tapper's audience? Jake Tapper?
my mom or something? I don't know.
Well, I don't know.
Yeah.
For real, though. I don't even think it's your mom anymore.
No.
By the numbers, what influence does Jake Tapper have over anything? He has the smallest audience on cable news. And beyond that, I think that the book is right now on Amazon that he put out. I mean, his ratings just went to it after he put the book out. You know, they did a 2-week infomercial for it. I mean, it was such a money grab, such a disservice to everybody that he serves with.
So you get, the reason it's jumpy is Dwayne had to spend about an hour cutting out the things we cannot put in there about George Clooney. By the way, George Clooney flew and did a fundraiser for Joe Biden along with Julia Roberts. The 2 of them did, and that's when he realized that the old man had lost it. Hunter Biden on immigration and illegal immigrants, cut number 2.
for someone? Am I going to be like all these Democrats say, you have to talk about and realize that people are really upset about illegal immigration. How do you think your hotel room gets cleaned? How do you think you got food on your table? Who do you think washes your dishes? Who do you think does your garden? Who do you think is here by the sheer just grit and will that they figured out a way to get here because they thought that they could give themselves and their family a better chance? And he's somehow convinced all of us that these people are criminals?
Then cut number 4.
I know exactly what happened in that debate. He flew around the world, basically, in the mileage that he could have flown around the world 3 times.
Yeah.
He's 81 years old. He's tired. You give him Ambien to be able to sleep. He gets up on the stage, and he looks like he's a deer in the headlights.
Okay, so that's the backdrop to my appearance with Sandra Smith on Fox this morning, where I was asked to comment on this, cut number 1.
Let's bring in Fox News contributor and the host of the Hugh Hewitt Show on Fox News Radio, Hugh Hewitt. Hugh, I want to get first your reaction to what we've heard so far. Just doing some digging on Andrew Callahan. This was a 3+ hour long interview. This particular YouTube channel, Channel 5, very popular. It's got over 3.15 million subscribers. We're hearing they met briefly before they sat down for this interview, so perhaps there was some level of trust, but it's wide-ranging. And he defends illegal immigration in that way. What is your response to what you just heard there?
That Hunter Biden doesn't know much about illegal immigration. Hi, Sandra. Just quick note, I'm on the Salem network, not the Fox network. I am a Fox contributor, however, and proud to be one. I believe the problem is that Hunter Biden doesn't know much about anything other than his old life and how he used to get alcohol and drugs. And about that, he is an authority. He ought not to have been advising his president, his father as president. He ought not to have been involved in anything to do with the White House. He's a convicted felon, and he does not know anything about illegal immigration. He is correct that many illegal immigrants work very hard. Doesn't mean they should stay in the country. That's a long and extended debate about that. I did read some other excerpts in this long interview. I'm not going to watch 3 hours of, I hope, a recovering addict and alcoholic tell me what he thinks ought to be happening in the country. But he clearly doesn't know anything about immigration. He is clearly desperate for attention, and here's my theory, Sandra. No one else in the family can make money now. The pipeline's been cut off, both for Uncle James and for every other Biden that was riding the train. Hunter is trying to become something so he can go out and get speaking gigs, but he's not that interesting because he was mostly stoned or drunk or on drugs for most of his adult life, doing horrible things. So I'm just going to put it in that basket of the people who have been discredited, who ought never to be listened to about anything. In his comments about immigration, he might as well be talking about going to Mars. He might as well be talking about deep sea exploration. He doesn't know anything.
Well, he seems to know why Joe Biden dropped out of the race. He said he did the most selfless thing I had known of any politician in the history of this effing country. He stepped aside to save the party, says his son. On Kamala Harris running for president, he says, and in that void filled the only person that he would ever endorse out of the gate because he chose her as vice president. There's no choice in that. And by the way, I love Kamala Harris. I think that she would have made an incredible president. Your reaction to both of those bits of the interview?
Well, there have been 3 exhaustive books on what happened when President Biden stepped aside. The first was by John Allen and Amy Parnes called Fight. The second was by Jake Tapper and Alex Thompson called Original Sin. And the most recent by Josh Dawsey and 2 other colleagues called 2024. It's detailed every day from June 27th, the night of his disastrous debate, to his announcement that he was stepping out. It actually was inevitable that he had to go because Nancy Pelosi stabbed him in the back and Chuck Schumer stabbed him in the front. And every Democrat was going to call on him to get out. All the money ran out because the entire Democratic campaign, and many people knew this for 9 months and longer, realized he could not win, and indeed he would drag down even more Democrats than went down with Kamala Harris. So again, Hunter Biden is wrong. Hunter Biden doesn't know anything. And he's a son defending his father, and that's all expected and honorable. but he doesn't know anything, and I would not listen to him about anything because he is, of course, a discredited witness. He's also a felon.
Hugh, I also want to
All right. He's also a felon. And I go on. We talk about other things. I just want you to remember, this story will run for a few days, I think it's a giant gift to everyone who doesn't want to talk about anything else, because people are going to relive the whole Hunter Biden saga, and they're going to relive the laptop computer, and they're going to relive the Intelligence Committee 51 former IC members telling us that you couldn't trust, they had all the earmarks of Russian disinformation. I'm just not going to let anyone at all tell me anything by Hunter Biden is reliable. Nothing by Hunter Biden is reliable. Nothing, nada, zero. So it's one of those stories that I'm obliged to, and I have now covered, commented, and I'm done with him. I don't care if he comes out and endorses a lunatic JFK assassination conspiracy theory. I'm not talking to him about him anymore. He is irrelevant, as his father is, and I'm sorry that his father is in cognitive decline and physical impairment. I'm sorry that he got addicted to crack and cocaine. I'm sorry that his brother died. Can we please focus on the future of the country and the future of everyone who needs America to thrive? Hunter Biden has nothing to do with that. Senator Tom Cotton represents the great state of Arkansas. He joins us now. Welcome, Senator Cotton. How are you?
I'm good, Hugh. It's good to be back on with you. Thank you.
Thank you. I just had Senator Scott Brown on. He's running in New Hampshire. I know that you do not have the NRSC on your plate this cycle, but we really only have 3 races that we can win from the Democrats: Michigan, Georgia, and New Hampshire. Do you think the environment's going to be good for those 3?
Hugh, yeah, I think the environment is going to be good for Republicans running across the country this fall in places like Virginia and New Jersey, and next year in all the midterm elections, because conditions are going to be good for Americans. You already see the economy improving substantially over where it was for 4 years under Joe Biden. Inflation is largely under control now. You got rising wages, especially for working class Americans. We've had huge success at the border, shutting down the Biden border invasion. And we're also finally, once again, respecting the world. So I think elections are going to be decided on those matters, in addition to the candidates that end up running that the parties nominate. But I think conditions are going to be very strong for the Republican Party next fall.
So do I. But I made the argument to the audience when Senator Brown was on. If we somehow lost the Senate, I don't believe whoever runs the Senate, Democrats, would approve one judicial nominee. Do you? Do you think they'll just do a blockade?
Oh, yeah, no question, Hugh. Not of any consequence. Maybe it's possible that they convince Donald Trump to appoint some far left-wingers in blue states in return for left-wingers in red states. But no, if we were to lose the Senate, which I don't for a minute believe will happen, that would be an end to President Trump's judicial nominations. And frankly, given the behavior over the last 6 months, which has been one long temper tantrum, probably an end to nominations for his administration as well.
Yeah. Now, you have been, I think this is your cycle, but you're pretty formidable in Arkansas, but people still need to get out and help you and go to what's your web? Oh, are you in the Congress right now? Can you tell me what your website is?
I'm not. I can tell everyone that my website is tomcotton.com. If they want to learn more about our campaign or what I've been doing for the people of Arkansas, they can go there. They can also find links there to follow us on social media and, of course, to contribute to my campaign.
Senator Lankford was on last week, and he has a new book out, Turnaround. And I found out he can't talk about the book when he's in the building too much. You're allowed to mention it, but you're not allowed to promote it when you're on the air, which is another new rule of Congress I never knew about. So this is a good cycle. What does the 2028 map look like, Senator? Is it going to be good or bad for Republicans?
I think good, Hugh. If you recall, that's the class that was up in 2022, and that was a bit disappointing for us. We lost 1 seat on net. But we have a lot of opportunities to win seats in that cycle in places like Georgia, again, for instance, or in Pennsylvania, up in the upper Midwest. There's several states available as well. So We want to hold what we got, maybe even expand the majority this year, and then hopefully grow it even more in 2028. These things take time in the Senate. It's not like the House that can swing one election to the next, but we should have a strong, durable governing majority in the Senate if you just look at the states, for instance, that have consistently voted Republican in the presidential elections for the last several cycles.
Well, that is what I believe to be the case, is that the country is sorting. It's sorting into red and blue. I think Michigan is going red. I think North Carolina is going red. New Hampshire has got every state office by a Republican and no Republican in the United States Senate. If the sorting finishes over the course of the next 12 years, shouldn't we have more than 60 senators?
Well, I wouldn't say that I wouldn't want to say we're going to have a filibuster-proof majority, but we should have more than we have had. It is a disappointing fact of history that since senators have been popularly elected, we have never had more than 55 Republican senators. There's been many years, many decades in which Democrats had more than that. But again, if you look at the states that have consistently voted Republican in presidential elections in, say, the last 20 years, or you look at the trend of some of those states, we should have several more senators than we currently have. That's why it's so important that in any given cycle, we not leave a single state on the board, because again, Senate majorities are built over a 3-election period, and you don't want to leave something on the board in 2026, even if you keep the majority, only to then lose it in 2028.
I'll ask questions, Senator. I normally ask you about intel matters and national security matters, armed services, intel committees being your committees, but you're also the chair of the conference, which means you help the senators develop the messaging that they use and what subjects they ought to emphasize and talk about. What are you advising the people who are up for re-election, like yourself, TomCotton.com, or like Scott Brown, or like anybody who's running? What ought they to be focused on?
Well, again, I think nothing succeeds like success, and President Trump's had a remarkable 6-month run in office, and we've passed highly consequential historic legislation that prevented the largest tax hike in American history, that helped secure our border, that's going to help reduce the number of criminal illegal aliens in our country, that's going to rebuild our military, that updated the farm bill for everyone in farm country. Running on those successes, I think, is how we're going to win next year, and reminding the voters what the Democrats stand for, what they voted against when they voted against all those bills, or where their party's energy is right now. If you look at the crowds that Bernie Sanders and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez are generating as they travel around the country, rallying the far left progressives that now are in the driver's seat of the Democratic Party. And if you want people like the Democratic nominee for mayor of New York City to be in charge in Washington, the Democrats are your party. But if you want common sense conservative governance, you should give Republicans another chance.
Let me add one question about Comrade Mamdani. I asked Olivia Beavers earlier today if she was asking every member of Congress what they thought of Comrade Mamdani, and she kind of sidestepped the question. Have you seen any of the reporters asking everybody, because that's what they do to Republicans whenever we get an outlier for a nominee? Have you seen them ask anyone about Comrade Mamdani?
No, of course not, because almost all those reporters are liberal Democrats who are on the team, and they don't want to ask senators and congressmen from states like North Carolina or Georgia or Nevada what they think about the new superstar of the Democratic Party, in contrast to what they do whenever an idiosyncratic Republican happens to win a primary in a city or in a congressional district around the country.
Tom Cotton, thank you, Senator, for joining me. I know you're off on summer stuff. I appreciate your taking the time. Be well. Follow him on X at Send Tom Cotton. His website is tomcotton.com. He is up, and you can help him out there too, so please do. Let me remind you, if you can remember, to go to hughhewitt.com and help the people out in Texas. The Help Texas banner is at the top of my website. We're doing really well because you people are generous and you realize how much of a disaster it's been. Help Texas. The banner is at the top of hughhewitt.com. Or you can text my name, Hewitt, to 51555. That's Hewitt at 51555. Or you can do the old-fashioned thing and call 855-359-4673. Food for the Poor is sponsoring this campaign, and we love Food for the Poor, and we donate, that we being the fetching Mrs. Hewitt and I, we donate to Food for the Poor for disasters like this because they get the aid where it needs to go. Food for the poor gets it done. And boy, does a lot need doing in the hill country of Texas. So please head to hughhewitt.com and be as generous as you can, or call 855-359-4673. I'm so glad you're listening because I want you to hear this, especially if you're over the age of 65, and if you have parents who are over the age of 65. Wall Street Journal did a big story. Actually, it's a story that ought to be mandatory reading for people, called "Millions Stolen, Death Threats. Should Banks Do More to Fight Pig Butchering?" Pig butchering in quotes. Scams that trick people into transferring funds fall outside most current fraud protections. Some victims want banks to take responsibility. And there are a variety of reasons why seniors fall for these things. Phishing is ubiquitous, as you know, phishing. People send you lots of emails that aren't emails. People send you lots of texts that aren't texts. You should just ignore them if you're not absolutely rotten, absolutely 100% certain that they're from the organization. And most good financial centers say, we will never say anything about, you can always call our center, use the number that you have, but it's on the rise and it's being run out of third world countries. And the poor victims, elder fraud is really out of control. And so please warn your parents, your grandparents about scams. Warn them that artificial intelligence now allows them to take small snippets of anyone's voice and turn it into, "Hey, Grandma and Grandpa, I need 10,000. I'm in jail in Mexico. Please don't tell Mom and Dad." And people fall for that. Or they fall for all sorts of stuff. The elder fraud, 10 years ago, I had a friend who was the Associate Deputy Attorney General who introduced me to the Assistant Attorney General who was in charge of prosecuting elder fraud. And it had ballooned 10 years ago. Now it is a monumental wave coming at everyone with any kind of asset. And a lot of people get tricked. In this case, the feature couple had $5 million at the end of their life. $5 million. And it's gone. And it's gone to third world cheaters and fraudsters. And the question is, ought banks to do wires from people like this? And the bad guys in the third world threatened to kill his wife, and the poor old guy just got taken to the cleaners. And it happens to a lot of people. It just happens so often. It's my public service announcement for the day. Don't click on anything. Don't respond to anything. If you didn't ask for it, you don't need it. If you don't think you owe it, you don't. If you don't remember ever signing up for something, you didn't. Don't fall for it. All right? Just don't fall for it. Now, I'm going to also say don't fall. This is now a sponsored ad by Consumer Cellular, one of my great sponsors. Make the switch to Consumer Cellular. They're not, Big Cellular is not tricking you out of money. They're overselling you. They're upselling you on data. They're upselling you on plans. If you go to consumercellular.com/you, you'll find out how you can find out. The way that you begin to do that is to get your cell phone bill in front of you. Now, many of you have auto pay, and you have no idea what you're paying for your cell service, just like you have no idea how many streaming services you've signed up for, and it's too many in both cases, and it's too much data in the case of cell data, which is why consumercellular.com came into being. If you go to consumercellular.com/you, you'll find out that you can have savings without sacrifice. You can have the greatest cell service available, and you don't have to spend all that money for data. Because if you're over 50, you don't need a lot of data. You probably don't need an unlimited data plan. I do. It's my business. I got to be online all the time. But I might not even need it. I did make the switch to Consumer Cellular on my second phone. One phone can't be gotten away with for a particular reason unique to me. But you can switch and throw the old one. By the way, you can keep your number. You can keep your data. You can keep your contacts. You can keep your emails. It can all be done. All you have to do is call them. 1-800-411-4454. When you do that, if you use my code HUGH25, you'll get $5 off of each of your first 5 invoices. So that's $25 right there. But if you're over 50, you can get 2 lines of unlimited data, 2 different phones, unlimited data, 2 lines, new phones, new data things, all that good stuff for $60 a month. I know you're waiting to hear it. $60 a month. Now, there are a lot of come-ons in the cell business. This is not that. This is really saving you money. But get your cell phone bill before you go and call them at 800-411-4454. 1-800-411-4454. When you get your cell bill, you'll be shocked a little bit. Is that really? Am I paying that much? And then that's when you'll call Consumer Cellular at 1-800-411-4454. You remember my code, Hugh25, because it saves you $5 a month for 5 months for you Steelers fans. That's $25. That's why it's called Hugh25. Or just go to consumercellular.com/Hugh. Vic Mattis is the art and culture editor of the Free Beacon, Washington Free Beacon. You can also read him at Victoria Reno Mattis on X. Vic, we're not going to talk about you or me or about the semi-annual edition of Getting Hammered that I'm sure is coming up for Christmas. We're going to talk about when is the next Getting Hammered. Inquiring minds want to know.
It's going to be a great episode, Hugh. It's going to be our top 10 favorite Christmas drinks, eggnogs, different kinds, just in time for the holidays.
I want to talk about, we're not talking about Getting Hammered because they're doing their summer I Better Sleep In season. I want to talk about a piece that I think you probably edited by Jay Nordlinger in the Washington Free Beacon called A Ranking of Major Proportions. Would you tell people about Michael, is it Arkush, his book,
Yes.
The Golf 100?
That's correct, Hugh. This is a book by Michael Arkush called The Golf 100. And I had Jay Nordlinger recently, formerly of National Review. He is now a free agent, as I like to say. So I was happy to take him in and become a new and future Weekend Beacon contributor. Jay is a big golf fan. He's a great golfer himself, going way back to his days at the University of Michigan. So I knew this was something that he would have a lot of fun with. And the book takes on this idea of, can you rank the top 100 golfers of all time, even though you're dealing with different eras, different standards, different clubs for that matter. And how can you actually compare somebody like Jack Nicklaus to Tiger Woods when the tournament seasons are different? But Arkush, the author, finds a way to say, you know what, let's take this into consideration. Let's discount certain other things and let's just have at it and argue away. I mean, that's the whole thing. You can argue with it. And Jake kind of nitpicks throughout the thing, but he does love it because he says it's a lot of fun as you're going through 100 golfers and all these wonderful, beautiful little vignettes.
Did Jay play for the University of Michigan? I played the gold and the blue courses back when I could swing, and I no longer play golf at all. But was Jay on the golf team, or he just an addict?
I can't confirm whether or not he played at University of Michigan. He's also an accomplished piano player, but I do know that he was very good at golf.
Jay Nordlinger is also one of the great writers at work today in the world. So anyone who needs something done, call up Jay. Now, what I wanted to get to is, did you watch the British Open this weekend?
I watched snippets of it, and as I saw that Scotty Scheffler was pulling away, then I knew I wasn't going to miss a real nail biter, but I'm very happy for him to have done that. And it was a great photo op for his little baby as well, even though the baby won't remember being there. But I thought he obviously did a great job over in Northern Ireland. And as Jay likes to point out, we don't call it the Open. We will always refer to it as the British Open.
Of course we will. Now, what I noticed about that, when I first checked in, Scotty was up by 8. And at which point, all I could think of was Tin Cup. And so I didn't want to watch, because the only thing that could happen would be a memorable disaster of the sort that we've seen in golf a few times, right? Roberto Di, you're not old enough to remember Roberto Di Vincenzo not signing his card correctly.
Yes, that is correct. That is mentioned in Jay's review, actually, Hugh.
Yeah.
And it's very unfortunate what happened to Di Vincenzo, although I think he previously won the British Open the year before, if I'm not mistaken.
But that was the Masters. He lost the
Masters.
And Vic, the key question here is, if you could win one of the majors, which one would you win?
I want the green jacket, Hugh. That's
Yes.
what I would like.
Yes.
And you know,
The-
I have very particular. I don't know how they have it ready for you to wear, because it could have been, you know, it could go to one player or the other, and maybe you can have it tailored later on. I'm about a 41 regular right now, but that's what I think I would.
What
love
are you
to have
getting
the green
Augusta
jacket. I
on
would love
notice? Are you letting Augusta know in advance that you're getting into the game?
41R. I'm a 41R, and I will wear it everywhere. I'll wear it to bed.
What Dwayne is chiming in.
You
What-
seriously don't know how this happens? They actually have
No,
a
do we?
wardrobe with all the coat sizes, and every player, when they enter the tournament, they put what their coat size is, so that if they win, they pull that one off. They have a whole wardrobe of green jackets in every
Hey,
size.
Vic, write this down. Dwayne made a contribution to the program. Write that down, would you? What's the date today? The date today is the 21st of July.
That's right. A
So we had a
disembodied
fact.
voice of wisdom.
Yeah, no, a golf fact from a man who doesn't golf. I mean, really, I've watched him play golf. He doesn't golf. So, Vic, in terms of the ranking, I want to assure everyone, the Golden Bear comes out number one. He is from Ohio. I heard him this winter. He did a fundraiser for Hoag Hospital. And I don't like to hear people interviewed because I do it for a profession. Have you ever heard Jack Nicklaus interviewed at length?
No, I have not, and I would find that very intriguing. Yeah.
He was fabulous. I'm going to tell you the best story. He and Gary Player and Arnie Palmer were such good friends. They had fierce competitors, but they were such good friends that when one of them had a terrible round, I mean, really bad, like they shot a 76 or a 78, just a terrible round, they could count on one thing. The other two would be waiting for them at their locker. Say, so how'd it go today? Now, I think that's the essence of male friendship. Am I right?
Yes, it's that. It's the ribbing, and it's also the mentorship. If you think about it, you know that he also had very important advice to dispense to Tiger Woods in the locker room, where they would have lunch. So hopefully that he took that to heart.
Does journalism have anything like the top 100 list? Do we have a top 100 columnist out there, Vic?
No, that'll be the next big book, Hugh, and you're going to be at least in the top 5. That's my
very
prediction.
quickly. Against my better judgment, I'm going to ask you to stay an extra segment, and I want to know from you in that segment what you think about Hunter Biden's comments. Have you reviewed them yet?
Yes.
What did you
Profanity
think?
laden.
Well, that's an understatement. Laden,
He
troweled, profanity troweled.
As I told Dwayne, he was like Joe Pesci in Goodfellas, but maybe worse. It was almost every other word. It was ridiculous. And he's trying to get attention. He doesn't seem well, and he's struggling for attention. It's not just that he craves the influence. He needs the money. Nobody's buying his artwork anymore for $500,000. How does he get back in the game?
My theory, which I said on Fox News earlier today in the first hour, has just been confirmed by Vic Mattis. It's all about money. Vic, you just said exactly what I thought when I got asked about this. He's trying to rehabilitate himself into an interesting person who might get paid to give a speech somewhere. I don't know by whom. I don't know for how much. But the Biden gravy train is over. It's crashed. It's done. The former president can't talk. Nobody wants to hear from Mrs. Biden because of her role in the presidency. She doesn't want to answer questions. James Biden's been cut off. Do you think the family's in financial distress?
Yeah, I don't think they're in great shape. I know that there are legal fees to be paid, and they're obviously fearing further recriminations, either from the current White House or from Democratic rivals and people going after them. The only thing they can do now is talk about the last 4 years and give some sort of, exclusive access to what it was like to be in there. And I'm going to tell you what it was really like and get a rise from people. And the key for them is to just get back in the conversation. We're talking about it now. The Democrats actually probably don't want to be talking about this. They're having their autopsy, as you know, of 2024, but they'd rather be focused on the midterm in 2026 and who's the next candidate in 2028. And here's Hunter Biden saying they should have stuck with my dad, and that the party melted down. And that was the big problem, is that they abandoned him. And he seemed to be weirdly supportive of Kamala Harris at the same time. But obviously, there's no love lost between Hunter Biden and, say, Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi. Or certainly not.
Well, he machine gunned George Clooney, Barack Obama, Carville, Axelrod, Anita Dunn, and the Pod Boys. And I haven't even listened to it. That's the excerpt that Dwayne cut out for me and then edited all the F-bombs out so I could do it. I'm just curious, do you think anyone at all wants Hunter Biden near them?
No, I think that obviously Republicans would love to have him continue to be the conversation and take it away from all this other business that's happening right now and that President Trump has to deal with. But no, they want to forget that it ever happened. And they want to forget that they said things, for example, after Biden was forced to step down. They said, "Thank you, Joe, for your service," as if he did something selfless. And that's the new narrative, by the way. That's what Hunter Biden is trying to say is, my father did the most selfless thing in American politics. Let's not forget he was forced out. And I think, yeah.
He had his grip on that door. He had pulled out by Nancy Pelosi, knifing him in the back, and Chuck Schumer in the front. Vic Mattis, thank you. Follow Vic on X at Victorino Mattis and go and Getting Hammered. It will be back on a regular schedule soon. Thank you, Vic. It's against my better judgment, but next hour I'm going to take phone calls. 1-800-520-1234 about Hunter Biden and this interview because it's so jarring. I talked to Vic Mattis about it during the break. I'm going to play that next hour to kick it off. But 1-800-520-1234, I think it's about the money. I think that he has got to find someone somewhere that will offer him a podcast deal because he's out of money and the family can't make any money. And there are, as Vic points out, and you'll hear next hour, legal bills to be paid and living expenses that are on everyone's shoulders. And it's a big family. One big happy family. James Biden can't be in the business anymore. I don't know anyone who wants to be near a Biden right now. So I want to know, you can line up now, 1-800-520-1234. What is the motive for Hunter Biden to do this? I think it has to be money. I also want to remind you, if you're watching on the Salem News Channel, you can see it if you're just in your car listening on any of our great affiliates. I've got the Relief Factor bag in my hand, and I want to remind you that I take this packet, as I did in the first hour of the program today. I take a Relief Factor packet in the first hour of every show, Monday through Friday, and I take it on Saturday and Sunday. And the reason I do this is because I want to feel good. I want to get my miles in, as I told the audience in the first hour. I did a couple of boat adventures this weekend, which are not my usual deal. My usual deal is to get my 10K in, but I didn't do that. I did reject the off-road trundling, which was the option. Fetching Mrs. Hewitt offered me that option. And I said, nah, I'm not going to do that. And so I sat that one out. But I did do the boats, and I'm fine. A little bit different than normal, but Relief Factor makes up the difference. If you've got minor aches and pains, you did anything unusual this weekend and you regret doing it today on a Monday because you're really not built for that anymore, ReliefFactor.com. You can call 1-800-4 and the word relief, 1-800-4-RELIEF, or you can go to their website and find the starter pack for $19.95. ReliefFactor.com, ReliefFactor.com. Believe me, it works. I've been taking it for more than 10 years. It is the only supplement I've taken for more than 20 years, and I don't think I'll ever stop taking it. I don't like supplements generally. I think you ought to eat well, live well, take your daily vitamin, see a doctor every year, get all the tests done, and trust in God and trust in staying in shape. But I do take Relief Factor because I do get my miles in, and they will not feel good if I don't take my Relief Factor. So I encourage you, go out there and give it a try. 1-800-4 and the word relief, or visit the website relieffactor.com. Find the starter pack, $19.95. It's less than $1 a day at relieffactor.com. My phone number is 1-800-520-1234. Hunter Biden is on deck. 1-800-520-1234. Why is he doing this is the question. Stay tuned. Most of tonight's news coverage, if not all of it, will be devoted to the Hunter Biden interview with one Andrew Callahan, who is a YouTube presence, big YouTuber. And the former first son sat down with him for a 3-hour rambling, profanity-laced, basically tirade against everyone in the Democratic Party. So let's begin, if we can, with cut number 2 Hunter Biden with Andrew Callahan.
For someone, am I going to be like all these Democrats say, you have to talk about and realize that people are really upset about illegal immigration. How do you think your hotel room gets cleaned? How do you think you got food on your table? Who do you think washes your dishes? Who do you think does your garden? Who do you think is here by the sheer just grit and will that they figured out a way to get here because they thought that they could give themselves and their family a better chance? And he's somehow convinced all of us that these people are criminals?
I have got to tell you, it may sound a little jumpy because Dwayne, the wonderful, has edited out every profanity-laced bit from this tirade. But he went on the illegal immigration tirade about President Trump. But what really spun him up was when he talked about Democrats, cut number 3.
Opinions, but Kim, and everybody around him. I don't have to be nice. Number one, I agree with Quentin Tarantino. George Clooney is not an actor. He is I don't know what he is. He's a brand. And by the way, and God bless him. You know what? He supposedly treats his friends really well. You know what I mean? Buys them things. And he's got a really great place in Lake Como. And he's great friends with Barack Obama. What do you have to do with anything? Why do I have to listen to you? What right do you have to step on a man who's given 52 years of his life to the service of this country and decide that you, George Clooney, are going to take out basically a full-page ad in the New York Times to me and James Carville, who hasn't run a race in 40 years, and David Axelrod, who had one success in his political life, and that was Barack Obama. And that was because of Barack Obama, not because of David Axelrod. And David Plouffe, and all of these guys, and the Pod Save America guys, who were junior speechwriters on Barack Obama's Senate staff, who have been dining out on the relationship with him for years, making millions of dollars. The Anita Dunns of the world, who's made $40, $50 million off the Democratic Party. They're all going to insert their judgment over a man who has figured out, unlike anybody else, how to get elected to the United States Senate over 7 times, how to pass more legislation than any president in history, how to have a better midterm election than anybody in history, and how to garner more votes than any president that has ever run. And they're going to replace their judgment for his.
Not to mention,
who's Jake Tapper's audience? Jake Tapper,
my mom or something. I
don't know.
Yeah.
For real though, I don't even think it's your mom anymore.
No.
By the numbers, what influence does Jake Tapper have over anything? He has the smallest audience on cable news, and beyond that, I think that the book is right now on the Amazon that he put out. I mean, his ratings just went to after he put the book out. You know, they did a 2-week infomercial for it. I mean, it was such a money grab, such a disservice to everybody that he serves with.
I know exactly what happened in that debate. He flew around the world, basically, in the mileage that he could have flown around the world 3 times.
Yeah.
He's 81 years old. He's tired. You give him Ambien to be able to sleep. He gets up on the stage, and he looks like he's a deer in the headlights.
So those are the 3 clips you're going to see everyone talk about. Everyone's going to talk about those 3 clips, maybe more. There's 3 hours of profanity. What's going on? First person I asked was Vic Mattis, who was on with me last hour. Here's what Vic had to say. I'm back with Vic Mattis. Vic, you just said exactly what I thought when I got asked about this. He's trying to rehabilitate himself into an interesting person who might get paid to give a speech somewhere. I don't know by whom. I don't know for how much. But the Biden gravy train is over. It's crashed. It's done. The former president can't talk. Nobody wants to hear from Mrs. Biden because of her role in the presidency. She doesn't want to answer questions. James Biden's been cut off. Do you think the family's in financial distress?
Yeah, I don't think they're in great shape. I know that there are legal fees to be paid, and they're obviously fearing further recriminations, either from the current White House or from Democratic rivals and people going after them. The only thing they can do now is talk about the last 4 years and give some sort of, exclusive access to what it was like to be in there. And I'm going to tell you what it was really like and get a rise from people. And the key for them is to just get back in the conversation. We're talking about it now. The Democrats actually probably don't want to be talking about this. They're having their autopsy, as you know, of 2024, but they'd rather be focused on the midterm in 2026 and who's the next candidate in 2028. And here's Hunter Biden saying they should have stuck with my dad, and that the party melted down. And that was the big problem, is that they abandoned him. And he seemed to be weirdly supportive of Kamala Harris at the same time. But obviously there's no love lost between Hunter Biden and, say, Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi. or certainly not.
Well, he
George
machine
Clooney.
gunned George Clooney, Barack Obama, Carville, Axelrod, Anita Dunn, and the Pod Boys. And I haven't even listened to it. That's the excerpt that Dwayne cut out for me and then edited all the F-bombs out so I could do it. I'm just curious, do you think anyone at all wants Hunter Biden near them?
No, I think that obviously Republicans would love to have him continue to be the conversation and take it away from all this other business that's happening right now and that President Trump has to deal with. But no, they want to forget that it ever happened. And they want to forget that they said things, for example, after Biden was forced to step down. They said, "Thank you, Joe, for your service," as if he did something selfless. And that's the new narrative, by the way. That's what Hunter Biden is trying to say is, my father did the most selfless thing in American politics. Let's not forget he was forced out. And I think, yeah.
He had his grip on that door. He had pulled out by Nancy Pelosi, knifing him in the back, and Chuck Schumer in the front. Vic Mattis, thank you. Follow Vic on X at Victorino Mattis and go and Getting Hammered. It will be back on a regular schedule soon. Thank you, Vic. That's what Vic thought. Now the question is, what do you think? John in Temecula, 1-800-520-1234 connects you to the Hugh Hewitt Show, wherever you are in America, 1-800-520-1234. What do you think, John?
Hey, thanks, Hugh. I love hearing your show. Love you on Fox. Hunter Biden is trying to resurrect his brand or his reputation and a larger reputation of the Democrat Party, and even indirectly linked to the mainstream media. I think like three boats anchored together, we're watching them all go down. And Hunter Biden himself said, my father was in Washington for 52 years. I think they're trying to resurrect the brand because all three of these brands are all going down in flames. Now, something I would love for you to talk about. It's my understanding of the founding of this country that the intention was not to go to Washington for half a century and build a political empire. I think it was 4 or 8 years, right? And then you go back to being a blacksmith, a doctor, a lawyer, whatever. And this is what Joe Biden was. He was the career corrupt politician, and Hunter Biden is trying to resurrect that. That's my comment, and I'll go off air to listen to your response. Thanks.
Thank you, John. The Constitution has no term limits in it, and indeed, state legislators may not impose them on the Constitution, and the Congress may not impose them on themselves. The only term limit in the Constitution came via an amendment to the Constitution, which limited a president to 2 terms after FDR went for 4. George Washington set the standard 2 terms, but in all honesty, James Madison was in the first Congress. Not only did he write George Washington's inaugural address, he wrote the congressional response to the inaugural address, and then he wrote Washington's response to that, and then he hung around and did the amendments to the Constitution after having drafted the Constitution, and James Madison was the 4th president, so he was stuck around for a long time. So there were people who had long careers. So that's from 1790 to whenever he stopped being president. I don't know it off the top of my head, but it's got to be 1808. So he was around for a 25-year career. And people didn't live that long. And we didn't have to worry about dementia in the White House until Woodrow Wilson had his stroke, and that was hidden from us, and FDR was dying, and that was hidden from us. But the amendment, the 25th Amendment, was created, it's I think the 22nd Amendment that limits the president to 1 term. But the idea was, yes, be a public servant, don't stick around forever. It was never an idea to turn it into the money-making machine that the Bidens did, to have your brother and your daughter and your 3rd cousin once removed trading on your name. That was never the plan. It became the plan. Hunter Biden on Burisma. I'm just saying, I don't think anybody wants to hear from him. I think he is damaging every Democrat when he resurfaces because they all knew. That's the takeaway from Jake Tapper and Alex Thompson, 2 guys who I had on, and I went through every fundraiser, every public event, every meeting that is chronicled in Original Sin. Everybody knew that Joe Biden shouldn't run for president again. But the Bidens needed the money. That's my theory, and I'm sticking to it. I got a full board. I'll take your calls when I come back. I don't often take phone calls on this program. You folks know that. You listen to me for guests and for interviews and for commentary. But the Hunter Biden story is going to consume the news cycle for 24 to 48 hours. So I'm getting ahead of it. I was on Fox News today talking about my own theory. He's in it for the money. I confirmed it with Vic Mattis. Just talked about it with John in Temecula. Let's go from east to west on your calls. Barry in Orlando, what do you think about the Hunter Biden interview? Why is he doing it?
You know, it's hard to say getting inside his head, but I'm wondering, this is off the wall, but I'm wondering if the specter of the auto pen invalidating all of these pardons has anything to do with it.
Oh, well, they can invalidate the pardons. That won't happen. The efficacy of an auto pen signature has been asked and answered by the court, I think, some time ago. Not sure, but I think that's the case. So it certainly does divert from that, though. Not bad. Throw yourself on a hand grenade, drop as many profanities as possible, and maybe get the attention off of the extraordinary scandal of the last 2 years of the Biden presidency. Barry, Gold Star, I have the best audience in America. Craig in Pennsylvania, including people in Pennsylvania. Who dialed the phone for you, Craig? You're a Yinzer, aren't you?
What's that?
Are you a Yinzer or are you from East Pennsylvania?
I don't even know what that is. So I'm from I'm from Eastern Pennsylvania.
Yeah,
so.
you're not a Yinzer if you don't know what a Yinzer is. Okay, go ahead. What do you think?
Okay, yeah. So I agree with you that Bidens are getting desperate, and I do also think that Hunter is a deal maker, and you know someone else that's a deal maker is Trump. And a good time to make a deal is when they're desperate, and Trump ought to call them up and say, hey, the auto pen scandal, we can work with that. Give us some skeletons.
You know, Trump wouldn't do that because it's illegal. But it is clearly a time, if you need something from the Bidens, to ask them for it because they need help. My question for you is, do you have any interest in the 3-hour conversation with Hunter? I mean, I really don't know. I've played you the low points of it. Is anyone going to listen to 3 hours of Hunter Biden?
Absolutely nobody cares. That the Biden story is written, and it's even from a conservative Republican perspective. Every time Trump, brings up how awful Biden was, it's just kind of it's old news. Everyone knows it, and it's written.
They shoot horses, don't they? They shoot stories. They should, and this story has been shot. Thank you, Craig. Oh, Kathy, a Tribble. Now, for those of you who are new to the program, I got some new affiliates this week. Tribbles are people who have been listening since I went on the air on July 10, 2000, and they've frequently been drinking. Kathy, have you been drinking?
I have not, Hugh. Thanks for taking my call.
We'll be the judge of that.
Yeah, it just occurred to me when Hunter was trashing Clooney and everybody else for trying to make money off of this. Well, that was pretty rich because that's what he and his entire family have been doing their entire adult lives, is making money off of Joe, off their proximity to Joe, selling access to power.
I really do not know how much money James Biden is worth, but he started the family business. Joe was in the Senate. James is his brother. He ran a lobbying company. I believe back in the days when the big guy gets his taste, that was the way it operated. And I asked a reporter, Josh Dawsey, last week, who reports that the Bidens, within a few months of leaving the White House after being vice president, bought a $2.7 million beach house in Delaware. And where do you come up with $2.7 million if you haven't been working? If you've been working in the Senate for 50, where do you get that kind of money? And Josh said, I don't know, probably speeches. I did the math in my head. That's a lot of speeches. They weren't paying Joe Biden $1 million a speech. They might have been paying him 50, maybe even 100. But it's a lot of speeches, and the feds get half. I don't know how they did it, unless it was the family business put it aside for the big guy.
Yeah, that's the only reason that Hunter got all the deals with Burisma and the Chinese companies and all that, is just he was selling access to his dad.
And I do not believe the narrative will ever change. Thank you, Kathy. Drink well. Drink responsibly. That's what we're supposed to say. Shane in Prescott, Arizona. What do you say, Shane?
Hi, Hugh. I think you're right. It is about the money, but I think it's a shakedown of blackmail. It's a tantrum and a message to the Democrat elites and the moneyed interests. Pay me millions to go away, or I'll continue to burn it all down. What do you think?
Oh, that's a very good speculation. That is not bad at all. That is, I have named Clooney. By the way, that's very ungrateful because George Clooney did not have to fly across the world to do the event that he did, at which he was shocked at the condition of the president. Didn't have to do that. He's upset with the Pod Bros, which guarantees the Pod Bros will talk to their audience, however big it is. I don't know. Trash about Joe Biden and him. Anita Dunn worked for his father, I think, for more than 20 years. So no loyalty here. That's the message. We're not going to be loyal to the people who are loyal to us if I'm mad at you at this particular time. And Barack Obama gets it, a little grenade fragment. He just basically took everybody out. It is a message. It's definitely a message, but you can only do it for so long. And I don't think the next Hunter Biden pot, you give 3 hours, there isn't anything left for him to say. Mike in Wisconsin. Hi, Mike.
Goldwater rule aside, he's got narcissistic personality disorder. And the personality disorder is more than just being a narcissist. It is a full-blown spectrum and a DSM diagnosis. And when you're
I don't know what a DSM diagnosis is.
Diagnostic and Statistical Manual is the manual that psychiatrists use to categorize psychiatric illnesses.
Are you a doctor?
I am.
Did you stay at a Holiday Inn last night?
Actually, I never have.
Okay, well then you're only half qualified, but go forward.
Nothing triggers somebody with NPD more than when they perceive those.
Wait. What's NPD? You're like,
them.
What's that? What's
Remember
NPD?
the tip jar when you use initials? There's a tip jar
You're
you
a
have
Harvard graduate and you don't know what NPD is? Come
No,
on now.
I'm a lawyer. Unless I've litigated, I don't know what as Dwayne just said, we have a tip jar. You owe Food for the Poor $100 because you used an acronym without explaining it. We got Steelers fans listening.
MPD is Memphis Police Department.
Yeah.
Hugh, even Steelers fans know what NPD stands for.
No, they don't. What is it?
$100 coming to the tip jar. I agree.
All right.
And that's narcissistic personality disorder. And when they're challenged, when they feel that they're irrelevant, when they're out of the spotlight, when they're underappreciated and unrecognized, he's out of the spotlight now. He's irrelevant and he can't deal with it. That's that disorder.
What do you tell someone with it? Do you tell someone with it, find a hobby, take up fishing?
It's incurable.
Oh, boy, that's too bad for Hunter. I mean, I do kind of feel sorry for him. He's out of the game. He was on the Burisma board. He's not anymore.
Pretty great for show prep, though.
Yeah, it was easy for the show. Thank you, Doc. Although you owe $100 to Help Texas banner at the top of HughHewitt.com. I know that many of you move with the news. And the disaster in the hill country of Texas is now 2 weeks behind us. The families are still grieving. Scores of people are still missing. Relief workers are still down there. And the tens of thousands of people who lost everything have still lost everything. Food for the Poor is sponsoring a campaign to help the people of Texas. And the banner to do that is at the top of HughHewitt.com. It says simply, Help Texas. Now, I don't know if you've ever been the victim of such a disaster. And if you have been, who helps you out? Food for the Poor responds better than any other organization I know, or at least as well as any other organization I know, to a crisis like this. They mobilize, they get stuff down there. Now, my friends in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints always remind me, they are fast to provide help, and they are. My friends in Salvation Army remind me, they are fast to provide help. I know Food for the Poor has the warehouse open with a partner in San Antonio where your donations are going immediately to provide relief supplies. For $50, you send one box of relief supplies. If you send $500, you send 10 boxes. 10 boxes. All you have to do is either you can text my name, Hewitt, Hewitt, to 51555, and Food for the Poor will send you a link, completely secure. So is the banner at the top of HughHewitt.com. But if you want to do it the old-fashioned way, you can call 855-359-4673. 855-359-4673. Give a listen to Governor Greg Abbott talk about the number of people who were lost.
The numbers that I have of those who have lost their lives statewide in this flooding episode in the month of July is now 135. Those who have lost their lives in the Kerrville area because of the floods is now 116. We will continue the search for everybody in every single region that was affected by these devastating floods.
The regions are many. The deaths are still unaccounted for, but the help is coming, and I appreciate very much the thousands of you who have stepped up. $50, $100, $150, whatever you can afford. Thank you in advance. Once again, the banner's at the top of HughHewitt.com. It says, Help Texas. You can't miss it. Even the Steelers fans cannot miss Help Texas at the top of HughHewitt.com. Or you can text my name, Hewitt, Hewitt, to 51555. Or you can call them at 855-359-4673. Also, I want to remind you, I'm in the Relief Factor studio. If you were listening in the first hour today, you know that I took the my Relief Factor packet for the day. It was quite a morning. I drove quite a way to see Senator Brown for breakfast this morning. Scott Brown is going to be the next senator from New Hampshire. Wonderful guy. I've never met him in person before. I've talked to him many, many times. And we spent more time talking about coaching girls basketball, which he's been doing since he came back to New Hampshire from the Senate. And he had two girls who played girls hoops, loves the WNBA. But we also talk about politics and the cycle that's coming up, and now he's got to beat Chris Pappas like a drum. But he needs money to do that. You can help him at scottbrown.com, scottbrown.com. If you want to watch the interview, go to my YouTube channel. I posted it there. I've also relinked to the HHS links page. You can see it there. But that's all possible because of Relief Factor. Now, the drive is not wonderful for my back. It's a long haul back and forth. And we had a great breakfast, though. The roundabout is a pleasure to get to. I got to go back to the roundabout. It's my kind of diner. And Senator Brown posted a picture of us at the roundabout diner. And I'm here to tell you, it's a fabulous place to stop. But more importantly, if you're going to make a long drive and you're not used to it, take your Relief Factor before you go. I always take it in the first hour of the show, so I didn't do that. I'm here to tell you, it works. It works every day. Icarian, curcumin, resveratrol, omega. Now, looking at Scott Brown, he's only a few years younger than me. That man is in shape. That man is a triathlete. He bikes everywhere. He's in shape. I should have taken him some Relief Factor. I didn't think about it, but I should have, because that guy is working out all the time, and now he's just going to live in his car or live in his truck and drive all over New Hampshire and talk to everyone 3 times, because that's what you got to do in New Hampshire. But we can help him. Go to scottbrown.com. And if you want Relief Factor, call 1-800-4 and the word relief. If you're a commuter and you don't like it, 1-800-4 and the word relief. Or go find the starter pack for $19.95, less than $1 a day at relieffactor.com, relieffactor.com. Coming up, Senator Tom Cotton on everything you need to know right now.